is hiring someone who's very senior without enough senior work for them to do, right? In very few scenarios does someone who had 10 years of experience and who is used to working on mentally challenging problems want to go back and work on something that is very mundane.
What is the risk that sinks an AI hiring before you have even posted the role?
Yeah, I think the real risk is not defining what the role looks like in terms of what this person should deliver in the first 90 days or even what they should be delivering in the first year. AI engineer and data scientist, you could look at that role and it could be the exact same job description, but what they actually do is different, right? And the other thing is the person that you are hiring, do they need to be more focused on delivery or production? Or are you trying to do things that are frontier, right? Where they're going to be more focused on research. If you hire someone who's more focused on research, they're going to be looking at moonshot ideas. How do I take research, things that have not been productionalized, things that have not been sitting in this realm of possible, and then bringing them to the world of, hey, we can actually deliver on this? That's a different profile than the person who is production focused. Hey, let's get this out, let's ship it to the customer. And managing that, it's a different type of personality and a different type of focus to manage, right? And it has real business implications because if you want someone who's research focused, there are real reasons to have that, right? There are real reasons, especially in this era of AI where a lot of the things that we're working on just haven't been done yet. And someone who can think like that on a conceptual level and how to bring that concept from research into production is important. But it's like a longer period of time that they spend mulling over the problem. That's a different profile from the person who's, look, I've got a methodology, I've got a path, I know what to do, let's get into production. It sounds like something that's very simple, but that's a common challenge that businesses face when they think about implementing AI.
How do you tell a real builder from a resume expert?
Yeah, I think it's just the ability to get into detail. So let me just highlight the issue that we're having right now. AI can create a resume that looks amazing, hits all the buzzwords based on the job description, hits all the keywords. And then on top of that, the candidate can even enter into the interview process and seem to speak perfectly about the tools that are necessary for the job or what paper they supposedly read, right? The reality is that someone with the experience communicates in a different way, right? They're talking about actual experiences. They're talking about, hey, here's the original idea that we had for this product. As I was going through the process of building, here's what changed, and here's how our assumptions changed. Here's what risks we were willing to take, and what trade offs we made. It's more of a scenario in the interview process where they are recounting a story, right? And the ability to tell a story in detail. Usually, when a person can do that and it looks really natural, that's when you can tell that they've actually done the work. But when someone sounds like using buzzwords, but there's not a lot of detail behind the story and what that person actually did, that's when you start to see a scenario where, hey, great preparation for the job, a great reading from the prompt, but no real ability to execute.
Let's say the candidate is generally strong and it still goes wrong. What happens?
So it goes wrong, meaning wrong hire and or attrition, right? Retention issues. So what can happen? The business may not be ready for the person that they hire. So a lot of companies are pressured to deliver some sort of AI solution. They'll hire someone, whether that be mid-level, senior, and perhaps their data isn't prepared and they can't layer AI on top of the data in the way that they had originally intended to do, right? So you hire someone who's not able to do the core job that they were supposed to do. Another example is hiring someone who's very senior without enough senior work for them to do, right? In very few scenarios does someone who had 10 years of experience and who is used to working on mentally challenging problems want to go back and work on something that is very mundane, right? Do they want to clean data? Probably not. Will they be willing to do it? for a short amount of time. Okay, yes. But more senior people want to be tackling more senior problems, right? So accurately assessing the problem that exists in the business and then finding the right solution, in this case, the talent is that solution, is critically important. There are other issues, cultural issues, other things we could go into, but those are two things that I've seen.
How does one wrong hire actually hit the business?
Yeah. The easy thing to point to is like a missed salary, for example. The harder thing to point through and what people don't think about a lot is after you hire someone, there's like a sigh of relief, right? You vetted the person, you think they have the right skills, you make them an offer, they accept, you're happy, now we can move forward. And so when you realize that is not the right person, it's like you expected on a scale of 1 to 10, you expected the outcome to be a 10, right? Psychologically. And when it's not a 10, when it's a zero, there's all of these kind of internal issues you deal with. Just thinking about all of the things you have to go back and do. The fact that you have to go back and re recruit someone. And that's why it's really important to get it right and think through the hiring process early on to make sure that doesn't happen. But I would say a lot of the issues that are non salary related would be psychological. Now, you could use that as a learning process or you could focus on burnout it creates. But I think in the end, those are some of the non salary, non comp related things.
So, how do you reduce all of these risks and where does LatAm full time hiring fit?
Yeah. So the LatAm hiring, the salary part of it, because your cost of failure is lower from a purely monetary perspective in payroll. So that's the great thing. Now, you still need, if you don't have on the team already, someone who can help with vetting within the eight, and I should say vetting and with sourcing and with negotiation to get the right person for the job, right? So that you limit the risk of creating burnout with the team because there's no hope in sight in terms of finding qualified help for the team.